Is America broke? During periods of rising national debt and geopolitical tension and persistent inflation, that question resurfaces. But instead of reacting emotionally, let's analyze and build structurally. Because the real risk is not whether the country survives. The real question is whether your income can survive this volatility. In today's video, we are going to be reacting to a PBS video, Is America Broke? We're breaking it down into 3 parts: debt, inflation, jobs, and wages. And then we'll talk about how we can position your business.
He's on fire!
Alright, now we're getting into the reaction video. Is America broke? The title is Taxes, Spending, and Debt. Is America going broke? Civics made easy. Here we go.
How much money did the government spend last year?
No idea.
40 trillion.
I'd say 100 trillion.
I would say it's probably somewhere in the 5 trillions. I'm not sure where though.
How much money did the government borrow last year?
Couldn't tell you, but too much.
How much is our national debt?
7.
It's a little higher.
Pretty sure it's in the trillions, 50 trillion?
It's, is it somewhere in the 25 trillion or is it more than that?
Pretty close, 36 trillion.
Okay, I'll take it.
If December 25th is America's favorite day, April 15th is its least, thanks to these guys. Now, the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, are just tax collectors, meaning you having to pay taxes isn't their fault. It's their fault. Congress decides how much money the federal government spends each year and how much we have to pay in taxes to foot the bill. They're the buzzkill. So, what are the different ways that people and companies are taxed, and where does the money really go? By the end of this episode, I promise you'll have a better idea of how the federal government spends your hard-earned cash, whether you like it or not. I'm Ben Chian, and this is Civics Made Easy. What are taxes? If you've ever held a job, you've probably paid tax. And if you haven't paid it, some people in that IRS building would love to speak with you. Taxes are how we fund America. Now, state and local governments have their own unique tax systems to pay for your state, county, city, or town. But in this episode, we're focusing on the federal government because these episodes are short. This chart shows all the ways the federal government collected tax revenue in 2024. As you can see, half of this money comes from income tax, taxes on your salary or earnings. In 2024, we all paid $2.43 trillion in federal income tax. The second largest source is Social Security and Medicare tax. This is a payroll tax that comes right out of your paycheck. It amounts to 1/3 of federal revenue, $1.71 trillion. Then there's corporate income tax, and then there's excise taxes on specific goods like alcohol, cigarettes, gasoline, or airplane tickets. You know, the fun stuff. These are paid by the seller or the manufacturer.
Okay, so you guys are getting the trend, right? The more we are in debt, the more taxes we have to pay. And guess who's paying for that debt? Come on now. Debt does not equal collapse, it equals constraint. The United States carries debt on a massive scale, but they also control the currency. It can refinance, issue bonds, and adjust policies. You cannot. When interest payments rise, flexibility shrinks. And when flexibility shrinks, adjustments happen somewhere. Higher taxes, reduced purchasing power, budget shifts, and inflation pressure. If the system isn't leveraged, dependency becomes a risk. All right, back to the video.
But make no mistake, you and I really pay that tax because it gets passed on to us, the consumers, in the form of higher prices. And then there are estate and gift taxes, like on large transfers of wealth, we're talking $14 million or more. But don't worry, the truly wealthy people in America have devised all kinds of creative ways to avoid this. In fact, if you type loopholes to avoid into Google, the first 2 suggestions are for capital gains tax and inheritance tax. And finally, there are miscellaneous sources of revenue, like fees, fines, or admissions to national parks. So we've covered how the federal government raises money, but how does it spend it? Because if you brought in nearly $5 trillion last year and spent nearly $7 trillion, someone's gonna have questions. So I went ahead and made an appointment with a real life accountant. I brought some things for you to take a look at.
Okay.
As you can see here, the federal government raised $4.9 trillion.
Okay,
right?
that's pretty good.
Problem is, it spent $6.8 trillion. And it borrowed close to $1.9 trillion.
That's not so good.
What do you think about that?
It seems like we're headed towards trouble.
Well, can I do an exercise with you real quick?
Sure, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay, let's just take these numbers,
Okay.
divide them by 100 million,
Okay.
and pretend they're my numbers and I'm a client of yours and I'm
Okay.
going to have you
All right,
do
I
my
like that.
taxes.
I like
Okay,
that.
so last year I made $49,200.
Okay.
Right? I spent $67,960.
Okay.
I borrowed close to $19,000.
Right.
Okay? And I'm $362,000 in debt in climate.
Oof.
How would you say I'm doing?
That's concerning.
Okay, I want to talk about this debt, and I did
Okay.
prepare some things for us to look at together.
Okay. All
That's
right.
okay with you. All right, so here you go. Is the first chart.
All right.
This is the things
Yeah.
that we're bringing in.
Okay.
That's good. We're bringing in money, right? It's always good to bring in
Right,
money.
right.
All right, and then here are the things we're spending on. So I would just say that, we're spending money on things like Medicaid, right? Helping
That's good.
low-income people get health care.
Right.
Elderly get health care with Medicare.
Right.
Social Security, obviously, taking care of retirees.
Right.
We're spending money on defense. But then I also saw that we're spending, if I look here, $881 billion on interest on our debt.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Okay, I also want to share the number that is our actual debt.
Okay.
It is $36.2 trillion, and it's increasing a lot.
Okay.
Do you have any clients yourself that?
Most federal spending isn't structural. Social programs, defense programs, and interest. That means when the pressure builds, the system can't easily pivot. And the pressure don't show up automatically, it shows up gradually. Through slower wage growth, through tighter credit, through affordability strain, no collapse, constraint.
Have been running deficits for 24 years?
I mean, I have some people that might be in debt. I do have clients that are in debt, but not to this extent.
And what would you say to America if she were your client?
I would tell her to get her house in order.
I do feel like we should talk to somebody who has actual inside knowledge of Congress's spending habits. No offense.
None taken.
Ken Conrad served in the US Senate for 2 decades from North Dakota. For a third of that time, he was chair of the Senate Budget Committee, so he understands this process. I have an honest question to ask you. Is America bad with money?
Well, if you look at our fiscal situation, you'd have to say the answer to that is yes. We've run up $36 trillion of debt, which is over 120% of our national income. And most economists would say you shouldn't have a debt of more than 80% of your national income.
How dangerous is it being $36 trillion in debt?
Well, here's the danger. There are really two. The most serious danger is that those who loan us money, and remember, we borrow 70% of the money that we borrow are from our fellow citizens. They buy treasuries, they buy U.S. bonds and help finance the debt in that way. But when you become more and more in debt, those who are loaning you the money see that the risk of getting repaid is growing. Therefore, they want higher interest rates in order to offset that risk. That's the big problem, because if interest rates go up, that affects so much of what we buy. That affects home loans, car loans, student loans, business loans.
Everything.
It's foundational
Eggs,
to the
milk,
economy.
bread.
The second problem is the crowding out.
That's what
As
crazy
more
is,
money is
smoking
spent
eggs.
on interest, that means there's less money in the federal budget for other things like education, like healthcare. The second biggest expenditure now in the federal budget is for interest on the debt.
How concerned about the price of all of these things are members of Congress? Or
And guess who's footing the bill?
are they just more concerned about getting reelected?
People who are in public office generally want to be reelected. And so they want to do things that are popular with their constituency. It's just not the elected officials' fault. The American people are electing the people that make these decisions. So it does ultimately fall back on all of us.
So, how did America even get to this point financially?
Before the Constitution, America didn't have the power to tax directly. Only states could tax their citizens. And for the first 73 years under the Constitution, federal tax was limited. America mainly raised money from excise taxes and tariffs, which we discussed earlier. But again, those taxes are ultimately paid by us, because when taxes go up, prices go up. Which means people of lower financial means shouldered a larger share of the tax burden relative to their personal wealth. Fast forward to 1862, when America established for the first time an income tax to help pay for the Civil War. But that tax only lasted 10 years, so it wasn't until the 16th Amendment in 1913 that Congress specifically got the power to establish income tax. Now, Congress could tax wealthy people at higher rates than poor people. But do we really need all these taxes? On one hand, they fund lots of things we take for granted. Highways and bridges, equipment for air traffic control. Most of the money goes towards Social Security, supporting retired people, and to Medicare, which is healthcare for seniors, and Medicaid, healthcare for poor Americans, and income security, things like unemployment or supplemental security income or SSI for people with disabilities, tax credits for things like having a kid, SNAP or food benefits for poor Americans, and pensions for former federal employees and military. These programs aren't particularly glamorous or fun, but they keep people alive and comprise a crucial built-in safety net designed to quite literally prevent society from collapsing all around us, something that would be a lot more expensive for all of us than just paying taxes. Which is why all the spending I just mentioned is mandatory, meaning the government is legally required to pay it.
Mandatory spending is 60% of our budget.
And if you add on the interest we pay on our debt, which would be bad not to pay,
That adds up to 73% of spending.
this means when we fight over things in the budget each year, or really when members of Congress fight over it, they're really fighting over a quarter of what we spend money on. And since defense rarely gets cut, we're really just talking about non-defense, non-mandatory stuff, which is 14% of the budget. It's like they're going out to a fancy dinner, ordering steaks, lobsters, and caviar, and then when the bill comes, there's a screaming match over who got soda. Many people think the US is spending too much money.
Our national debt is now more than $37 trillion.
Okay, we're gonna pause it right there. Now let's connect this to inflation. Energy is the upstream of everything. When geopolitical tension rises and oil markets react, energy prices increase, especially at the gas station. Higher oil increases transportation costs. Transportation increases goods pricing. Goods pricing affects inflation. Inflation is cumulative, not dramatic. It reduces purchasing power. It slowly increases your borrowing costs, and it slowly tightens margins for businesses. And when margins tighten, businesses adjust. Back to it.
A decade ago, it was half that. And today, it's 4 times the size it was in 2007. Now, we've gone through periods where our debt has grown higher percentage-wise. After World War II, our debt was nearly 7 times the size it was before the war. So maybe size is a bad metric. The real number you want to focus on here is gross domestic product, or GDP, the total value of all the goods and services that America produces in a year. According to the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, a healthy debt to GDP ratio is 60% or less. And the World Bank says problems begin when the ratio goes above 77%.
Can anybody guess where we are percentage-wise? Do you think we're below 77%? I doubt it.
124%, the 8th highest of any country in the world.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
The highest in US history was actually 126% in 2020, thanks to COVID, higher than the 119% after World War II. But from 1952 until 2008, we were well below 77%. Since 2009, however, starting around the financial crisis, we've been well above it. And we've been above 100% since 2016. This is objectively an issue. It makes us more likely to default on our loan payments and hinders our growth. I mean, if you saw those numbers, would you even be comfortable?
And that's where it hits home. Higher inflation keeps interest rates elevated. Higher rates increase mortgage costs. Higher mortgage costs reduce affordability. Real estate doesn't collapse instantly, it cools. And investors must shift from speculation to cash flow, from appreciation hopes to disciplined underwriting. Inflation rewards asset ownership, but only if structured properly. Back to it.
Loaning America money? But there's something you can do about it. You know, besides panic. Whether you want America to rein in spending, or you want your state or district to get some of that 14% of our money that's actually up for grabs, your members of Congress control that. Your 2 senators and 1 representative want to get reelected. Remember, they work for you. They have an incentive to deliver money for their state or district, or rein in spending if that's what their constituents want. So, if you feel a certain way, you might want to call those 3 people. If you don't know who they are, you can find out. Here's the number to reach them: 202-224-3121. That's the Congressional Switchboard. Call as often as you want, but I advise against calling more than once a day per member of Congress, so at most 3 calls a day. Any more than that, and you're just wasting time and resources, which you should try to avoid because, after all, it's your money. I'm Ben Chian, and I hope you learned something.
Shout out to Ben Chian. Thank you so much for that informative video. And if you like that video, there's more videos on his channel and the PBS channel. Please follow. Now let's talk about unemployment. Businesses manage risk. Employees experience it. When uncertainty rises, hiring slows. When hiring slows, wage growth softens. When wage growth softens, households feel pressure. This is how Marco volatility becomes personal. Not through headlines, through paychecks. Now, America may not be broke, but the systems are under pressure. And pressured systems adjust. The strategic question is not fear, it is positioning. Level 1, employment dependency. 1 paycheck, no insulation. Level 2, diversified income. Employment plus secondary income streams. And level 3, ownership and assets. Income that is not directly tied to your daily labor. Volatility does not require panic, it requires preparation. Another thing I want to add that affects inflation and interest rates is global conflict. Everybody know what situation we're in now. I don't have to dig deep into that. The only thing I have to say is prayers to the innocent people involved and their families. God bless. But when we go to war, they're putting more money toward defense, not the American people and interest rates. Okay. It is now time for the toasty tip of the day. Toasty! Take 10% of your income and begin building insulation, aka an asset or a business, something that doesn't depend on your employer. Preparation is not panic, it is discipline. You can't control national debt. You can't control geopolitical tension. You can't control global oil markets, but you can control exposure before you are forced to. And if you want the free Freedom 30-day plan, just go to 9tofreedom.life, put in your information, and you'll get the PDF instantly. Also on 9tofreedom.life are all of my podcast episodes and future episodes. And if you are serious about your business and you want to dig deeper, please buy the book on Amazon, 9 to Freedom, Fire Your Boss Edition. I'd surely appreciate it. I'm going to read the transition plan from chapter 6, Fire Your Boss. And I quote, the transition plan, phase 1, side hustle mode, build on nights and weekends. When I was working at the downtown Raleigh Marriott City Center, that's how I got my real estate license. Phase 2, replacement mode, cover your freedom number. When your business covers 70 to 100% of your employment income. Phase 3, transition mode, reduce hours or go part-time. Phase 4, full freedom mode, quit with confidence. Fear versus freedom. Fear whispers, what if you fail? Freedom asks, what if you succeed? Freedom isn't about removing fear, it's about choosing courage anyway. Case study, my transition. I didn't just wake up one day and quit. I built my cushion, replaced my income, and thank God I have a loving and understanding partner, my beautiful wife, and I stepped out with a plan. My only regret, not doing it sooner. I thank you for tuning in to the 9 to Freedom podcast. And in the next episode, we will break down how to build true income insulation, step by step. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, comment, go to 9tofreedom.life. That is the hub, whether you want local realtor representation, holler at myself or my partner, Danielle Smith, at the Pinckney Estates Agency. Also, you can get the gear at the 9tofreedomcollection.com. Everything is in the hub, 9tofreedom.life. And the podcast is on all platforms where you get your podcasts. I'll see you guys next Thursday at 4 p.m. And don't forget to share with your mom and them. Be blessed. Before we get out of here, I like to send a shout out to the people who pay the bills, the sponsors. And today's sponsor is myself. Buy the book, and the ebook is available online for free if you are a Kindle Unlimited member. And if you are not, Amazon has a free trial where you can sign up for a limited time and then you'll have access. If you are like me and you want the physical copy of 9 to Freedom Fire Your Boss, there's a worksheet at the end of every chapter. So it's not just the book, it's a workbook.
I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, and yes, it's Eric Thinkney. If you're serious about building ownership and escaping the 9 to 5 trap, you need to grab the book 9 to Freedom, Fire Your Boss Edition. It breaks down the exact mindset and steps to start building real freedom. You can grab your copy right now on Amazon.